welcome to Self Talk with Karina Q. You might know me from Rose City, the After Show podcast here on YouTube that I host with my girls. Well, I'm doing something a little bit different. I will be having one-on-one conversations with you on life, love, relationships, goals, and ambitions, and so much more. Take your shoes off and let's get comfortable. So the topic for today is Think Like a CEO. What does a CEO actually mean? Well, let me look it up right here and I'll tell you. So you don't just have to take my word for it, okay? It says CEO is the abbreviation for the actual name, Chief Executive Officer, the main person responsible for managing a company, who is sometimes also the company's president or chairperson of the board, okay? So I want you to start focusing on thinking like a CEO. I didn't say you have to go out and open up a business tomorrow. You can if you want to. However, I'm telling you, let's get in the driver's seat here. Let's start thinking like the CEO that we know we was created to be, okay? So I begin to ask myself these questions. I'm a person, I love to read. I watch a lot of news. I'm a big history type of person. And I'm always looking at these different people. And I'm like, what was it that made them special? What was it that made them stand out? What was it that gave them that drive, that hustle, that ambition, you know? And so I started realizing before these people ever became multimillionaires, billionaires, before they ever became successful judges, lawyers, politicians, doctors, whatever, you know, business owners, scientists, whatever they became, one thing that I realized is that they had habits of a CEO. They had a mindset that would take them to the next level. And so I had heard someone say years ago, you should study the minds of the CEOs that you admire. So whether you pick one or pick two or three people, you should pick a person who you admire their success. You know, whether it's somebody that you know personally already in your own life, or someone that you know on TV that you see, or you've read information about their business from, you know, the Business Insider or whatever it may be, right? I want you to start to study those people's habits from the time they were born until the time that they really made it really, really big. Okay. And I want you to start to just maybe read some autobiographies, look at their interviews, find out what was it that set them apart from everybody else. Because I can tell you that believing in yourself, that's rule number one right there. You're not going to be able to do anything or accomplish any task if you don't first start off by doing what? Believe in yourself. Okay. So you want to see, how did this person believe in themselves? What was their environment like when they grew up? What were some of the obstacles that they had to overcome? We think about people who are successful and all we see is the success that they have. We don't necessarily know their struggles that they had before becoming the person that you and I have seen them become. So it's really good to understand what people's habits were. One of the people that I looked into years ago was Albert Einstein. I was always super impressed by his level of knowledge. I found out that when Albert Einstein was a kid, he wasn't the greatest student. He didn't feel very smart, right? And I thought, one of the greatest scientists that ever lived, and all of the profound wisdom that he had, and he wasn't a good student? No. What made him a good student was learning how to apply different principles and strategies. That's what made him a top tier leader and learner. And he learned that from a very early age of being a young man. I remember watching a documentary and they talked about Michael Jordan. And they said when he was younger, he wasn't very good at basketball. And I was like, Michael Jordan, who? Number 23? I was shocked because, you know, I just remember being a kid in the 90s, and my aunt, she was a humongous fan of the Bulls, the Chicago Bulls. You know, she loved him. And I just remember her knowing all of his stats. To know that a man who had that type of talent wasn't naturally gifted, but he built his talent. The documentary talked about how he would go to the park every day after school and just shoot the basketball for hours at a time. He practiced. He wanted to get better, became one of the greatest players of all time. I looked into Kobe Bryant. I was always a big fan of his because I'm a fan of the Lakers, and his ethic in terms of working. And why are people calling me? You have to check him out. He's also another good person to study. He would have practice with his teammates and with his coaches, but he would show up to practice an hour early and start practicing. On the days where they were, you know, working out, you know, they have the whole team work together as a team. You know, you're in the gym together with everybody. And that might last for anywhere from hour to 2 hours, whatever the session was. They said after everybody left, Kobe would stay an additional hour, hour and a half to work on things that he wanted to do. And I was like, that's crazy. He literally started to inspire other players on the team to show up early and leave later. It wasn't about trying to win brownie points with the coaches, with the owners of the team. It was about he had a dream for himself. And those other men, they saw it too. They were like, his strategy is working. Kobe Bryant was one of the best players of all time. And we saw his success didn't just come from being naturally gifted, not just being a person who could just get up in the morning and say, I'm so blessed, I'm so gifted, I don't have to do anything. I just got it like that. He worked for it. He put in the work. He was diligent. And so that's what I'm talking about when we start thinking about thinking like the person in charge, thinking like the person who you want to be. A lot of people don't do New Year's resolutions. I'm not a resolutions kind of person, but I am a goal-driven type of person. I always have something in the back of my mind that I'm working on, something that I want to do. Those are things that are important to me. And I do know that sometimes when the year gets started, you have so much hope. You know exactly what you're going to do. You know exactly how you're going to hit your mark. And then as time goes on, it's February, it's March, you haven't been very consistent and you could start beating yourself up. And we don't have any time for that negative self-talk anymore. Like negative self-talk, please put that behind you. Please leave that in 2024. I need you to get into the driver's seat. It's 2025. Things are out here mixing and shaking and moving. And I want you to be ready to go forward because I'm moving too. Okay. And we can go together. All right. So I want you to think like a CEO. I want you to find a leader, find somebody that you are inspired by. Again, it doesn't have to be a celebrity. It doesn't have to be, I use sports. I always use sports analogies. I am a sports fan. I have two sons who are high school football players. And so I'm a football mom. Like, I do that. Okay. I'm on the sidelines. I rep like a mascot for my boys. Okay. So I'm like the loudest mom out there and I love it for myself. Okay. But I like sports. I've always been, kind of like a big sports fan. When I was younger, I played basketball and, I have older brothers. So, I grew up playing sports with them, whether it was basketball or football, like I grew up with all that, WWE now, but it was WWF back in the day for those who know, okay? And we were really big wrestling fans. So sometimes I use sports analogy because I connect with sports really, really well. So just a little bit of background on me in case you didn't know. Now you know. So anyways, I want you to find somebody. I want you to find somebody who you can connect with. Again, doesn't have to be a celebrity. It can be a regular person who has built something that you truly, truly admire. So pick between 1 to 3 people. And I want you to find all the information you can find out about them, whether it's interviews that they have been a part of, whether it's a book, article, or if you know them personally, you have access to them, start asking questions. But don't just ask questions. Write down some of those things that you're finding out. Create yourself a book or a journal. I know for some guys, they're like, I don't want to have a journal. There's nothing wrong with a journal. You can call it a book, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But this is your book for your strategies, your goals, and your success. And this is a book that you're going to be looking back and forth at over time. You're going to be jotting down notes. You're going to be writing down things that are significant and that stand out to you. Okay. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to get you a special little book. Okay. It could be a notebook. It could be, I like to go to Marshall's and get like little journals and stuff, whatever, but you can go to Amazon. You can go anywhere and get a book. But this is your book for the CEO, okay? This is how you're going to start building yourself up. These are going to be your goals, your desires, and your wants. It's going to be in that book, okay? And as you acquire more information, just take time to jot things down in your book, things that you want to research, people that you want to look into. I mean, this is just your world, so you can do what you want to do with it, okay? So the next thing that we want to talk about is when we look at the habits of those CEOs, we want to know, like, what's their leadership style? You can ask yourself, what kind of leader do you want to be? Is there a leadership style that resonates more with you than others? But ask yourself, like, what is your leadership style? What do you see yourself as a leader? Who do you see yourself becoming, right? Is it like the person who you admire? Do you admire their leadership style? Is that something that you want to adopt for your own? If so, that's fine, okay? Then we want to ask ourselves, from the leaders that we are looking at, what were some of their obstacles? What were some of the things that they had to get over in life to get to where they wanted to get to? Because I'm going to tell you, society has done us all a disservice. Society has told us that by this time and by this age, you have to have everything fully figured out. You need to know who your life mate's going to be. You need to own a home. You need to be done with your degree by 30. You need to be having your first baby. Society has placed a lot of false expectations on people. And then you get to life and you start saying, wow, life is out here really lifing, life will life on you. Okay. And so while life is lifing on you, time is going by and you're like, well, I was supposed to have done this by this time, and I was supposed to have done this and that and the other, but we're not factoring in all the other challenges and the trials that you had to go to and go through, right? Because you had to go to some stuff and go through it to get past it. So we have to give ourselves grace in this place. Your life is not cookie cutter. I don't know one person who has grown up with a cookie cutter lifestyle where everything was just perfect. There was no struggles. I don't know one person whose life has ever been cookie cutter. I've never met anybody who had the perfect life. Everybody I have ever met, come across, even the leaders that I look to, people who inspire me, nobody I have ever met had the ideal perfect life. Everybody has had some form of struggle. Everybody's had some kind of trial and tribulation or error that they had to overcome. So with that being said, give yourself grace. You don't have to be perfect to run this race. What you need to do is believe in yourself. One thing I want to make a point to say is that success does not come easy. It is only acquired by being diligent. So if you want certain success in your life, and success looks so different depending on what your goals are. So we're going to use going to the gym as an analogy, okay? So you're going to say, I want to lose weight in 2025, if that's your goal, right? Some people's goal is not to lose weight. Maybe it's to maintain what they've already built. So you need to assign actionable strategies to your plan that will guarantee that you are hitting the mark each and every time. Okay. So a lot of times people say, 2025, I'm going to start going back to the gym. I'm going to be more dedicated with my self-care and making sure I'm eating the right things, right? But that's kind of vague. So you want an actionable strategy that is not just saying that you need to start going to the gym and you need to start eating right. So instead, you would say, in 2025, I'm going to go to the gym. And my gym days are going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 6 to 8. This is your plan. That is how you keep yourself on track. And what you do is you carve out your life around your plan of action. Okay. So if you're going back to school, if you're studying, you say, I'm going to study from 4 to 8 every day. Unplug your phone. Put it on do not disturb. Tell family and friends, everybody you know around, hey, I need to be studying from this time to this time. So I really, really, really got to stay focused on the things that I'm doing for myself. You create that plan. You say 4 days out the week, Monday through Friday, I'm going to study from 8 to 4, or I'm going to study from 2 to 5. Whatever your thing is, you be accountable to yourself. Write it down. This is my plan for the week. I'm going to do this, this, and that. Be very, very clear on your goals and how you want to get there, and be flexible with your goals, because as you are going through life, something might happen. You might say, oh, I was getting to the gym and then my car, it did something crazy. And so now I need to pay to get that fixed. So I haven't been able to go to the gym. You may not be able to leave the house to get to the gym, but what can I do in this house? YouTube is an amazing resource for all kinds of free workout videos for male and for females, and at all levels, from beginning, intermediate, and to extreme advanced. They have some extreme stuff on there, but I like it. So you can always create a plan of action and make adjustments as you need to make those adjustments, okay? So you want to reevaluate whatever your plans are every 6 to 8 weeks to ensure, am I on the road for success? And then I want you to remember this as well. People put a time limit on their success, and they usually give up before seeing the real breakthrough. Stop putting time limits on yourself. Don't say, in 6 months, if this doesn't pan out, I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. Why are you giving up on yourself? Why are you being so defeated? We need to change the mindset, okay? That is not a winning mindset for success. That is a defeated mindset. You're setting yourself up to say, in 6 months from now, if my whole life has not changed, I don't want to do it. What I have learned is small steps in the right direction will eventually get you to exactly where you want to be. We always think about life as us having to sprint. This is not a race. This is a marathon. And like people who do marathons, you see some people and they're just booking it through. And you have other people and they're just moving slowly. They're taking their time. They understand it's not a race to the finish line. They're taking their time because they're a part of a marathon. So do not put time limits on your success. Do not say, oh, well, haven't met somebody by this point in my life. Well, never going to fall in love. Oh, well, should have had my credit together so I could have bought that house 4 years ago. I guess I'll never own a home. No. We don't think or talk like that about ourselves. We just don't. Okay. Whatever you want it's within reach. You may have to tweak some things. You may have to change a few things around, but it's in reach for you. You can have whatever your heart desires, but we have to change our mentality. We have to change our thinking. There have been times in my life where I had to stop myself and say, who is upstairs talking? And it was me talking negatively to myself, me sabotaging my own self by saying, well, since nobody wants to help me do that, I might as well not do it. Because I don't have the success maybe somebody else has. Maybe it's not meant for me. It is meant for you. You just have to keep staying in your lane and working your field. So as a kid, I wanted a garden. What kid doesn't want a garden? Okay. I didn't understand the process of how to be a good, farmer or gardener. I would get stuff and I would overwater it. I would overwater flowers and how I would kill them with too much water, right? Or there are certain plants that cannot be in direct sunlight and it's a 90-degree day outside. And I'm like, oh, plants need sun. And I didn't put the plant in front of the window. Now the plant is dead. You know what I mean? I tried to plant a tree. And when I was a kid, and I just knew that it was only going to take a week or so for that tree to spring up. I had no clue that for some trees, it takes 20 and 30 and 40 years for them to grow big and strong like we see. My expectations were not realistic, set me up for defeat, and it killed my dream because I just felt like, oh, I'll never be a good gardener. I'll never be a good, farmer or whatever, because I kill it. I kill all of my plants. I overwater them, I give them too much sun. Without really realizing it wasn't about I couldn't be a good farmer or I couldn't be a good gardener. What I needed to focus on is learning my craft. I need to know what type of soil does that plant need. I need to know realistic expectations. Like trees are going to grow and they're going to bloom and they might even produce fruit. But there's a certain time of year that all these things happen. But because I was like a 6-7-year-old kid, I just didn't understand the process. So I'm saying to you that success is intentional action that requires detailed planning. And the detailed planning is something that you will consistently twerk or tweak over time. I say, you don't twerk it, baby. No, you're not. You are, I'm silly. I'm so crazy. I'm sorry. But your success is intentional. And over time, you will have to change up the plan a little bit to accommodate your life, okay? Now, don't let the word planning scare you, though. It just means that you have a roadmap. Like, I don't know about you, but if I needed to go to Seattle and maybe I want to go to, I would say Key Arena, but I don't know if that's even there anymore. I'm telling on myself. Let me see. If I wanted to go to, there's a restaurant in Seattle that my brother loves to go to, and it's called Asiago's, okay? I've only been to Asiago's once. Very beautiful restaurant, really good Italian food. So if you're really into Italian food, hit up Asiago's in Seattle. Anyways, if I wanted to go to that restaurant, you know what I would have to do? I would have to enter the restaurant information into my GPS because I know how to get to Seattle. I don't know how to get to Asiago. So when I'm talking about you planning, I'm not saying that all the plans have to be detailed and you have to have Excel sheet, all of this type of stuff. So don't freak yourself out. It can be as simple as writing in your notebook what your roadmap looks like for you. How many hours a day can you give to this plan of action, even if it's 1 hour a day? 1 hour a day is better than nothing at all. So I want you to really align yourself with the winning mentality that you're going to need to succeed. You cannot succeed and be successful with a toxic mindset. If your mindset is toxic, we have to work on the mindset. We have to elevate where we're at. So for instance, I've had to learn over the years, my goals and my dreams and my desires, they are absolutely possible and they're within reach for me. But what I had to understand and learn is that my journey is my journey. And on my journey, everybody's not going with me because I can't go on everybody's journey with them because it was not intended for me to be there. Can we support each other? Absolutely. Can we love each other? Absolutely. But there's something special that God has for you, and you have to do that. Or something's always going to feel like it's missing in you. You know what I mean? When you know that you're called to do something, but it's always like, well, I don't know how to do it, or I just don't think anybody would really like that, or they wouldn't really support it. Do it anyway. Do it scared. Do it being unsure. But what I want you to do is I want you to do it. Okay? And I want you to really change your mindset. I want you to hear yourself when you talk about yourself. So the next time something happens, you'd be like, oh, I gotta do, I don't know if I'm smart enough to do it. You absolutely are. I used to always tell myself there are things that I could not do. I was like, I can't do that. I don't even know how to get started. Well, thank God for YouTube and TikTok and all that other stuff out here showing people how to do different things step by step. What I had to learn is that it wasn't that I was not capable of doing something. It was I didn't know where to get started. So you got to figure out where you got to get started. That's the biggest thing. And you want to move in silence too. You know, I had to learn you can't tell all your plans of action to everybody, because sometimes people will start projecting their own self-doubt, their own fear, their own failures onto you. And then you're like, oh, okay. So now I got to contend with what you talking about. Now I got to contend with you. Oh, well, it didn't work out for Susie. It didn't work out for Ricky. It didn't work out for that person. So is it really going to work out for me? Absolutely, it's going to work out for me because I'm going to put in the hard work. What I'm going to tell you is the success is real. What I'm going to tell you is failure is not real. Not for me, at least. If you do something and you don't succeed, what does that mean? Does it mean that you just give up? Or does it mean that you've learned something? So I see things as like when people say failure, I don't see it as failure. I see it as I'm learning a lesson. What did I learn from that situation? What's the takeaway from here? So when I move forward and I do this again, I know how to move differently now because now I know what to do and what not to do. Years ago, when I wrote my first book, it's called Daily Empowerment for Successful Living, baby. I was like, save. Couldn't nobody tell me nothing. I'll have to tell you all about my story one day. But anyway, I wrote my first book. And it was really just about like daily steps that you can take to get closer to God, right? And I'm so not like where I used to be or where I want to be, but like I'm exactly where I need to be at. I went through a very crazy situation with the church that I was a part of, and a lot of lies, a lot of deceit. There was a lot of crazy things that happened, money stolen, people sleeping with different folks in the church. It was wild. Okay. It was like something you probably would see like on a Tyler Perry movie or whatever. And so anyway, I just said that because I'm like, if you guys look up that book, you're like, how did she go from Daily Empowerment for Successful Living to Rose City, baby, and people out here doing big things, right? So when I was going through that process and I had written my first book, there was a person that I trusted as a leader, and they were just like, yeah, I'll help you, whatever, whatever you need. And so I trusted that person, and they basically kind of like took advantage of me, like overcharged me for stuff, lied to me, told me, oh, I'm gonna hook you up with my editor, just send me the stuff, I'll send it to the editor. All lies. It was an absolute wreck. Okay. But in that process of dealing with that, I was like shook, like, what just happened? I could not believe somebody that I trusted, somebody that I revered, somebody that I thought was a person of God could be just a scam artist, really taking people's money. But through that whole process, like I had to be like, listen, where am I at here now? Okay. Because I didn't spend some money. Things didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out. So I have this project. Do I stop the project because I've been lied to and mishandled? Or do I keep going forward with the project? And so I finished off the project on my own. I started to, find other people who were able to do the editing the correct way. I was able to figure out how to self-publish myself through, KPD. But anyway, I moved forward with the process. And so it was what I needed to do. Life will throw you, curveballs. People will show up. Some will be on your side, they'll help you, and others will try to take advantage of you. But baby, let me tell you something. There is a lesson to be learned. I learned a lesson. And so I used to be like hurt and super bitter about all that. And I won't say that I'm fully over the hurt, because when you trust people and you expect them to do better than what they did, it's very shocking. I remember, let me take my shoes off. I'm over here wearing my high heels. You have to get into all of this. You know what I'm saying? I don't just come out here and have house shoes on, because that actually would be a pretty good idea now that I think about it. But I can't. I literally will had my high heels on, and those are actually really comfortable too. But anyways, so I could have walked away from that situation, just devastated, defeated, and threw away my dream of being a writer. But I didn't. I decided to move forward and use my talent to keep going on. What I'm saying to you is that you're going to run into stumbling blocks. You're going to run into people who are going to try to cause you to stumble on your road to success. It's all a lesson. It's all a lesson. You have to learn steps to get to the next level. And I learned valuable things. I learned that even though you love people, business has to come before personal relationships. We got to put business first. I remember this person who was supposed to be helping me with my first book told me the cost, everything for him to get me published was going to be $3,000. And he told me, next time we meet, I'm going to have the contract and stuff. And I was like, $3,000 is kind of steep, but I didn't know the process, And so we met again and we talked about how we were going to produce the first book and what we were going to do. And he started talking to me about making payments. And I said, well, I would like to see like the contracts. I'm really big on the legalities of things. I come from a family who owns a business. My father started his first funeral home in the city of Tacoma, Washington, and was the only Black funeral director and embalmer at the time, the first African-American Black man in the state of Washington to own a funeral home. He made history. So I come from people who run businesses. My mother and my father worked that business together. My mom helped my father, and when my dad passed away, my mom took over the business. And so now her and my sister run the business. So baby, when I talk about contracts and business, I know a little something, I don't know everything, but I know a little something to help me to move forward. So I was like, well, I would like to see the contract and stuff, because I want to know like when payments are supposed to be made. What are the details? Because we want to know if you're supposed to be helping me, what is it that I'm exactly getting from you? I met with the man 2 more times and he would never produce the contract. He was just like, me, and me, I'm a person of God. Like, I got you, girl. Like and red flags were just going off, because I was just like, this is business. And business is business. Contracts are contracts. And I need to read anything that I'm getting myself involved in. And so anyways, preface and say, I didn't pay no $3,000. I paid a couple hundred, but it wasn't no $3,000. He didn't get me like that. But what I would say is that sometimes in the process that you go through different things, it's easy to want to give up. It's easy to want to stop because you don't have this person's support, or because there's a stumbling block essentially now in your way. And how do you get around it? For every problem in your life, there's going to be a solution. I'm a solutions person. Just honestly, truthfully, I deal in solutions. Some people will call me and they will be talking to me about every problem that has come up. And I'm like, so what is the solution? And they're like, I just told you there's a problem. But for me, I don't deal with problems. I only deal with solutions. So thank God, that's like one of my strongest gifts, is that if you got a problem, Karina has an answer. I have solutions. I have ways to work. Okay. All right. So this is the problem. Now let's do this. Let's try this. I can come up with a solution for just about any problem. There's always a solution to your problem. My son's coach used to always say to him, you got a problem, how you gonna fix it? And I used to laugh, and he used to get so frustrated. He said, Mom, DP always talking about you got a problem, how you gonna fix it? And I said, because he's literally telling you, you have a problem, how are you gonna fix it? And my son was like, I'm complaining about it. I don't want to, I'm just complaining. That's the problem. Too many of us are comfortable with just complaining about things instead of, you have a problem, what's the solution? I've always been a solutions person. And I've noticed, like, over the years, like, if you call me on the phone and you have a problem, baby, I'm already on Google. I'm helping you out. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do to solve it, right? But then I had to realize, like, Karina, you can't create like a captain save them mentality either, because people will call you up just to have you do all the legwork, and then you can get taken advantage of. And that's a whole nother conversation for another day. Anyway, what I'm saying is, be a person who can find a solution. If a problem arises, okay, this is the problem. What would fix the problem? Even if the problem won't be fixed overnight, what can I do to mitigate the issues of the problem? There are things that we can do. Use your talents, use your abilities to think your way out of whatever the situation is that you have yourself in, or that you found yourself in. Okay? I want you to go forward. I want you to be successful. I want us to put on, my mom would say when I was a little kid, I want you to put on your thinking caps. We got to start thinking our way out of things. I would say right now, with everything that's going on in the world, everything that's happening in our nation, it is extremely easy to get right here and feel completely and totally like defeated. And what I'm telling people is, I'm a person, I love the news. I like to see what's going on in different parts of the world, what's happening right here in my own backyard. You have to be strategic about how much of this that you're taking in. And not even just the news, but just like I see things on social media where men and women are constantly just tearing each other down. And I don't like your braids, and I don't like your shoes. And I'm just like, wow, the world we live in, little picky monsters. If you're not careful, people will just get online and they'll just tear each other down. And you got to back away from the negativity of life. You got to so focus on you. I have quite enjoyed going through social media and unfollowing different pages and different groups that the moderators don't stop people from trolling. Like, I don't know. I love it for myself, because I tell you why I love it for myself, because I'm not just complaining about not wanting to see these problems in front of me. I can do something about it. I can change my algorithm, right? I can say, that's not the type of information that I want to take into my spirit. I don't want to take that into my spirit, baby. I don't want it, okay? And I'll tell you why I don't want it, okay? So it's really, 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 and like I said, I'm goofy. So you're going to have to bear with me if you're going to be up in here on these one-on-ones, okay? So what I want you to know is that whatever your goals are, they're within reach for you. You just have to create a plan of action. Start thinking like the CEO that you are. And I'm about to just get ready to wrap this up and end this. I can get to the grocery store. I have a niece, and she'll tell you that when she was younger, she would try to go to the store with her bonnets on. And I'd be like, ma'am, what are we doing? And she'd be like, Auntie, I'm just going to go in this. And I'd be like, and she would have a t-shirt on, some sweatpants, and some Crocs. I have a hair in my eye. And she put her bonnet on. And I'd be like, what are we doing? Where are you going? And she'd be like, oh, we're just going to Safeway. Like, I ain't getting dressed up for that. And I said, ma'am, you can't leave the house in your bonnet. We're not going to do it. And she'd be like, don't nobody know me in Vancouver? And I'm like, that's not the point. The point is not if people know you. The point is you're somebody to be respected. Baby, don't go outside, looking like you should be up in your bedroom watching TV at 3 a.m. Like, don't do it to yourself. You're too fine for that. You're too sexy for that. You're not average. You're not basic. You're above that, right? So I used to tell her, you dress for success. And the way that we dress really makes people stop and kind of size us up and be like, who is that? You know what I mean? And so when you take yourself out, think like a boss. Think like the CEO that you are. Dress in a way that you feel confident. I guess if you feel confident about it, then I guess go. But I couldn't personally feel comfortable, wearing my night robe or whatever, to the store. I couldn't do it, And so everything is about starting to change, starting to think differently. Even if you have to run to the store and you're in, sweatpants and a sweatshirt, I've decided, baby, if I got to wear a two-piece, it's going to be a two-piece that came together, or it's going to look like it came together. It's going to be well put together. Like, you don't know who you're going to run into when you walk out the door. You don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know how God will align for you outside, and you want to be ready. Because I know I could not run into somebody who was a famous producer or director or whatever, and I want to talk to them about my book, Rose City. Where if I bought it, I just wouldn't even have the ability to do that. I would just run. I'd be like, I gotta go. I would be trying to get up out of there. So I want you to go places, and wherever you go, I want you to dress for success. Men, put your cologne on. Ladies, put your perfume on. Make sure your hair is right. Make sure your clothes are right. Even if you're not a nail girly, I love nails, but I don't wear them a whole lot. I wash dishes, and I have a dishwasher, so why am I still washing dishes? Whatever. I like nails, and so I like to do like my little press on so that I can kind of take them on and when I need to, and take them off when I need to, and just be able to do things. I like to, I like my flower garden. They don't have any flowers right now because it's still cold, but the daffodils are starting to come up. I see them budding, But so anyways, make sure you're good. Little jewelry goes a long way, perfume, a little smile. It goes a long way. So in order to think like that CEO, put yourself in the seat, don't just look at people's lives, start to say, I can have that too. I have everything that it's going to take for me to go to the top. All right. So I will see you guys again very, very soon for some more of these self-talks with Karina. I have enjoyed our time together. Like, I even put on a little dress for you guys. I'm not going to stand up or anything like that, but anyway, I put on a little dress for you guys. I put on perfume for you guys. It's in my hair. My curls are starting to fall out, but that's okay. I still did it for you, baby. I did it for you. Anyways, again, thank you so much. I'm going to continue on having these talks. I'm going to have different topics, maybe even some recommendations for books. I'll start right here. So you see this right here? She's a reader, baby. She's a reader. I lay in bed some nights and I don't want to wake up my husband, so I read in the dark. I go to bed like late. I'm a night owl. I'm a weirdo. This book right here, you may not be able to see it. This young, beautiful woman. The book is called Make Money Move. It is a guide to financial wellness. And her name is Lauren Simmons. And I've been reading her book, and baby, she's talking about some stuff. She worked on, I don't want to say Wall Street. Was it Wall Street? No, stock exchange. That's where she was. She was a stockbroker. And so she's talking about how to save, how to get your credit in order. She's talking about having emergency plans, emergency fund plan. So in case, the unexpected happens, there's money in that account. She's talking about putting money in a traveling account. Like, she's talking about all these good things. She's talking about having short-term and long-term financial goals. She's talking about a lot of good stuff, free stuff, easy stuff that you can do. And I love the fact that she talks about her life and growing up and how she came from a single mother household, and she had a brother who had a disability, and how, she saw her mother work really, really hard and went to work for the HR corporation of, I think she said Lowe's or something like that. But anyway, very beautiful young Black woman doing great, amazing things. She just bought her first home. I was watching something on, was it CNBC or something like that? And they did another profile on her, because that's where I found her years ago, on CNBC, when she used to work at the New York Stock Exchange. And so she's just talking about a lot of different things. They did an update where she's at now in her home, and she has a podcast. I think it's on Spotify. But this woman is doing big things. And so what I'm saying to you is, find people, find books, find literature, find podcasts on the topics that you're interested in, and really engulf yourself in the knowledge that you need, because I'm telling you, the next 3 to 5 years of your life can be completely and totally different if you start applying principles for success. And that's what I want you to do, because you're going to see I'm blossoming and I'm growing daily, and you are too. So like I said, we're going to continue on working together. Again, when I'm reading something I think it's going to be helpful to you, I'm definitely going to shout out the book for you. And it's been really fun doing this with you. So I will see you guys again soon. Bye.